Life, as we know it, has a way of sneaking up on us, twisting familiar moments into something entirely unexpected. Sometimes, it's not the big events but a single, seemingly ordinary evening that changes everything we believed about ourselves, the people around us, and the life we thought we were leading. Tonight's story is one of suspense, tension, and unexpected turns. A night that began as nothing more than routine but evolved into an experience I would never forget. That evening, I found myself in a small, dimly lit hotel room, not alone, yet not in the company I expected either. I was there with my stepson Charles. My husband Adrian had been away for months, working in a city far from our own. His absence was more than just physical. It was a quiet, gnawing emptiness that I felt in every corner of the house. Nights were long, filled with a silence that seemed to stretch into infinity. The way he had grown distant, indifferent even, had made me feel invisible, as though my presence no longer mattered. I missed him, yes, but it was more than missing a person. It was missing the attention, the acknowledgement, the small gestures that make a marriage feel alive. I had no inkling that a simple plan to visit my father, asking Charles to drive me, would leave us stranded together, forced into a tiny room barely large enough to turn around. That night pushed me to the edge of patience, testing my emotions in ways I had never imagined. By the end, I would leave with a perspective I could never have anticipated. The day began quietly, almost mundanely, yet there was an invisible weight pressing down on me, a tension I couldn't shake. Glancing into the rearview mirror, I caught a reflection of myself. Tired, yes, but resilient. There was a spark in my eyes, a stubborn refusal to let months of solitude dim my strength. Adrian's absence had hurt, but it had also ignited something within me, a realization that I was more than just a wife waiting for her husband's return. I was capable, strong, able to navigate life on my own, even in the face of unforeseen challenges. In the kitchen, Charles was finishing his breakfast, his youthful energy filling the room in sharp contrast to my quiet, contemplative mood. At 22, he was impulsive, charming, and reckless in ways that both frustrated and fascinated me. I reminded him gently to practice driving before college, nudging him toward responsibility. As usual, his reply was playful, teasing, and a little reckless, making promises about a new car for the summer. I waved it off, reminding him to focus, while my mind wandered, unaware that this day would spiral into the extraordinary. The drive started normally. I sat in the back seat, scrolling through my phone, while Charles hummed along to the radio, tossing out jokes and commentary on the scenery. The countryside rushed past, a blur of green fields, empty roads, and occasional clusters of distant houses. Then, without warning, a screech pierced the quiet. The car lurched to a stop. My heart jumped into my throat. "What happened?" I asked, trying not to let panic seep into my voice. Charles frowned, checking the dashboard, his casual amusement replaced by frustration. "I think it broke down," he muttered, fishing for signal on his phone, only to discover there was barely any coverage. We were stranded in the middle of nowhere. No help. No cell signal. Hours stretched ahead as we argued, called mechanics, and even attempted to fix the car ourselves. By the time we admitted defeat, fatigue had seeped into our bones. Reluctantly, we headed toward the nearest motel, emotions tangled in frustration, worry, and a strange sense of anticipation. Life has a way of forcing us into situations that reveal things about ourselves we never knew existed. That night, I had a feeling it would be one of those moments. The motel room was a disappointment at first glance. Cramped, dim, with a single bed, a flickering light, and air conditioning that barely worked. The window offered only a view of the parking lot. I muttered, "This is it." Charles laughed behind me. "What did you expect, stepmom? A 5-star hotel." His teasing grin was infuriating and oddly comforting at the same time. Though I hated to admit it, there was something reassuring about being stuck here with no one else to rely on but each other. "I need a shower or I'll pass out," I said, rubbing my aching neck from the long drive. Charles flopped onto the bed dramatically. "Go ahead," he said. Alone in the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror. My hair clung to my skin from the heat, yet my eyes still held that stubborn spark. Life had thrown me into an unexpected chaos. Yet amidst it, I felt clarity. Charles, despite his impulsiveness, had grown in responsibility. The reckless boy I remembered was now someone capable of thought, decision, and action. His presence reminded me of my own resilience. The night unfolded slowly, tension weaving through each moment. Dinner in the motel restaurant was small but comforting, a brief escape from the confinement of the room. I ate quietly, savoring the soft clinking of cutlery, the muted hum of conversation, and the calm of the evening outside. Meanwhile, Charles upstairs paced restlessly, a force of youthful energy against the quiet weight of anticipation. Later, as we sat back in the room, the night's heaviness settled around us. The car would be a nightmare to fix in the morning, Charles admitted, worry creeping into his tone. We'll manage, I said. We always do. The hours stretched, filled with small arguments, long silences, and the restless energy of confinement. Yet in the discomfort, there was revelation. Each glance, each word, each sigh carried meaning. Our awareness of one another deepened. Our personalities, frustrations, and vulnerabilities were exposed. The night, once monotonous, became a mirror, reflecting patience, endurance, and unexpected strength. Then a knock on the door shattered the rhythm. A stranger stood outside, frantic, claiming his car had been stolen and begging for help. Suspense gripped the room. Could we trust him? Should we even try? Every second dragged as Charles calmly navigated the conversation, while I assessed, silently weighing risk and responsibility. That night became not only about endurance but moral choices, trust, and fear. By morning, the stranger had left, the car repaired, but the night had left its mark. Charles was no longer just a boy. I saw a young man capable of decision, resilience, and action. For me, the night reflected my own patience, courage, and adaptability. It reminded me that life's challenges are rarely about comfort. They are about character, resilience, and understanding. As we drove toward the city, every argument, pause, and twist replayed in my mind. The motel, small and stifling, had been a crucible of growth and insight. The morning light filtered weakly through the thin curtains, painting the small motel room in pale, tired hues. I stirred awake first, my body stiff from the cramped bed and restless sleep. Charles was still asleep, sprawled across the other side of the room, his phone clutched loosely in one hand as if it had been a shield against the uncertainty of last night. I took a deep breath, letting the quiet hum of the air conditioner fill the silence. The night's events replayed in my mind like fragments of a vivid dream. The arguments over the car, the relentless pacing, the moral tension with the stranger outside. I could still feel the weight of every decision, every word exchanged. It struck me then, life has a way of compressing lessons into a few hours, forcing us to confront truths we might otherwise avoid. Getting dressed, I noticed how different I felt. There was a subtle lightness in my chest, a newfound clarity. Adrian's absence had forced me to grow, to observe, to adapt. I realized that even in frustration and discomfort, I had been learning, evolving. And Charles, he was no longer just my stepson, the playful boy I had known. He had emerged from the night's challenges more thoughtful, more grounded, capable of responsibility in ways that surprised me. By the time Charles joined me for breakfast, there was a quiet energy between us. He looked tired but alert, his youthful impulsiveness tempered by the events of the previous evening. We exchanged a few words about the car, about the stranger, and about the long drive ahead. There was no tension now, only an unspoken acknowledgement of what we had endured together. The drive resumed, but the landscape seemed different. The road stretched endlessly, green fields giving way to small clusters of houses, winding through valleys where the morning mist lingered like a soft blanket. Each mile reminded me of the night behind us, of how quickly routine could turn into chaos, and how resilience is often forged in moments of discomfort. Charles drove with surprising focus, glancing at me occasionally in the rearview mirror. There was a shift in our dynamic. I no longer felt the need to constantly supervise or correct him. Last night had been a test, and he had passed with a quiet competence that was both reassuring and astonishing. As we drove, I allowed myself to think about Adrian. Months of absence had created distance, yes, but they had also forced introspection. I understood, more than ever, that relationships are fragile, dependent not just on presence but on attention, communication, and emotional investment. Absence, whether physical or emotional, reveals truths we often ignore in comfort. We stopped at a small roadside cafe for lunch, a simple place with weathered wooden tables, and the smell of freshly brewed coffee. Sitting there, watching Charles interact with the waitress with a polite charm that masked last night's tension, I felt a wave of pride. He had grown overnight, but so had I. My patience, my ability to navigate discomfort, my sense of self, all had been tested and proven resilient. The afternoon drive was quieter, each of us lost in thought, reflecting on the night's lessons. Occasionally, Charles would break the silence with a casual joke or a playful comment about the countryside. His humor felt different now, less reckless, more measured, a reflection of the growth I had witnessed. By evening, we reached my father's town. The familiar streets, the smell of home-cooked meals wafting through the air, the sight of the small town square, it all felt grounding. Yet, there was a subtle awareness that nothing would feel entirely the same. The night, the motel, the breakdown, it had all changed us. Meeting my father at the doorstep, I felt an odd sense of gratitude. Life's chaos had prepared me for this moment, had reminded me of my strength. Charles, too, carried himself with a quiet maturity, his previous impulsiveness softened by the trials of the past 24 hours. As we settled in for dinner, my father's laughter and stories filling the room, I allowed myself a moment of reflection. Life had a way of testing its lessons in unexpected forms. The motel room, the breakdown, the stranger, they had all been catalysts, forcing both Charles and me to confront truths about ourselves. That night, lying in the guest room at my father's house, I thought about the fragility of routine and the hidden strength we carry within. Adrian's absence, though painful, had been a mirror, showing me my resilience, my adaptability, and my ability to navigate life's unpredictability. Charles had been a reflection as well, a reminder that growth often comes in moments of pressure, that character is revealed when comfort is stripped away. As sleep finally overtook me, I realized something crucial. Life is rarely about comfort. It is about resilience, awareness, and the willingness to face the unexpected. And sometimes, the smallest moments, the car breaking down, a cramped motel room, an unexpected stranger, become the crucibles in which we discover who we truly are.